My dad gave my 18-year-old sister 4 bedrooms, yes, for her hobbies, her art, and her sleeping. But when I became homeless with my young son, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "There's no room." I asked if my son could sleep in the cupboard under the stairs, and what he said next made me cut him out of my life forever. If you've ever been overlooked, dismissed, or humiliated by the people who were supposed to protect you, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and stick around because this story isn't just about injustice. It's about taking control, standing up for yourself, and reclaiming your dignity. Let's dive in. I grew up in a house where favoritism wasn't subtle, it was practically a monument. My dad adored my sister, and everyone knew it. From the moment she could walk, she got praise for every little thing she did. My achievements? Either ignored or minimized. By the time she turned 18, she wasn't just spoiled, she had 4 bedrooms in our house. One for sleeping, one for her books, one for her art, and I don't even remember what the fourth was supposed to be. But somehow it existed. Everything revolved around her. Meanwhile, I lived in the shadows. Every time I tried to assert myself, it was brushed aside. Every success, no matter how small, was met with silence. It left a gnawing emptiness in me, a frustration that I buried deep, telling myself that one day, one way or another, I'd prove my worth. Fast forward to a few years later, life threw me a curveball. I became homeless with my young son. Circumstances were cruel, but I thought my family, my father, my supposed safety net would at least help. I was wrong. I remember walking into my childhood home, heart pounding, hope dangling by a thread. I explained our situation, trying to keep my voice calm, rational. "Could my son stay here for a few nights?" I asked. "Just a few nights until we got back on our feet." His response still echoes in my ears. There's no room, no hesitation, no empathy. Just those 6 words. My son was 6 years old. A small, wide-eyed boy who didn't understand why he couldn't stay with his family. I looked around the house, desperate, scanning for even a corner where he could lie down. The only space I could think of was the cupboard under the stairs, the same one I remembered sneaking into as a kid when I wanted to hide from the world. I swallowed my pride and asked quietly, "Maybe he could sleep in the cupboard under the stairs?" What happened next shattered something deep inside me. My dad laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not an awkward chuckle, a cold, deliberate laugh. Then he said, "You expect him to sleep in the cupboard? He's better off out there than bothering anyone in this house." I felt it then, the heat rising to my chest, my stomach twisting, my hands trembling. Not just anger, but the kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any physical wound. The same man who had given my sister 4 bedrooms wouldn't even spare a cupboard for his grandson. I left that day, but not quietly. Something inside me snapped. I realized in that moment that I could no longer be a victim. I could no longer let him control my worth. And that's when I made my decision. No contact. Forever. Cutting him out wasn't easy. It meant facing my own guilt, my own lingering desire for his approval. But each time I thought about my son, about the little boy who deserved safety and love, I knew it was the right choice. I began to rebuild our lives slowly but deliberately. I found a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it was ours. My son had his own space, his own bed, and for the first time, I saw him sleep peacefully, without fear or confusion. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. And then came the poetic part, the part that made every unfair, crushing memory of my father worth it. You see, I didn't just cut him out. I flourished. I found work that appreciated me, friends who valued me, and a life that, despite its hardships, was richer and warmer than anything I had known in that house. My sister's 4 rooms? They didn't make her happy. She was stressed under the weight of expectations, her life curated for her convenience, not her freedom. Meanwhile, my son and I had something she could never buy: autonomy, love, and dignity. Months later, I ran into someone who knew my father. The conversation was casual, innocent, but my father's own arrogance shone through. He bragged about what a perfect home he provided my sister. I smiled inwardly, knowing that my life was now separate, better, and untouched by his judgment. The real revenge wasn't yelling, or scheming, or exposing him publicly. It was quiet, steady, and absolute. It was living a life where his approval no longer mattered, where his favoritism no longer dictated my happiness or my son's safety. And the sweetest part, I realized he could never undo it. No matter what he said, no matter how he tried to manipulate or belittle me, I was already free. The cupboard under the stairs? A symbol of his cruelty. My freedom and my son's happiness? The ultimate retaliation. There's something powerful in reclaiming your dignity. It's not about revenge. In the conventional sense, it's about proving to yourself that you don't need permission to exist, to thrive, to protect the ones you love. And the psychological part is fascinating. When people like my father see that their control is gone, their reactions often range from denial to anger to desperate attempts at manipulation. But none of that matters anymore. The power had shifted. I had taken it back. Quietly, effectively, permanently. The moment I realized my life had fully transformed was simple. One evening, I tucked my son into his own bed, kissed his forehead, and walked out of his room knowing he was safe, loved, and happy. I didn't need my father's validation. I didn't need his approval. He could laugh, sneer, and criticize all he wanted. It would never touch us again. And that's when I finally felt peace. Real, unshakable peace. Not through confrontation, not through shouting, but through living. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic. It isn't public humiliation. It's survival. It's thriving in a way that no one who doubted you can ever touch. My father taught me one thing, unintentionally: how to recognize injustice, how to protect what truly matters, and how to rise above cruelty without losing yourself. If you've ever been dismissed, underestimated, or told you didn't matter, share your story in the comments. Hit like if you've ever taken control of your own life when others doubted you. And don't forget to subscribe, because there's nothing more satisfying than witnessing someone finally claim their dignity and triumph. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? I want to know.